A cabin deep in the woods should be on every prepper's wish list. A place that's remote and private in the midst of abundant natural resources. Hi, I'm Faraway Prepper, and on this video, you'll see what it's like spending an entire year alone rebuilding an old cabin in the woods from start to finish, and how I managed to do it all at such a young age. So what you're about to see, it took me a whole year to get it done. And I would really appreciate it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Hey, even if it's a smiley face, it doesn't cost anything, it's totally free, and I would really appreciate it because it helps the channel in a big way so I can continue making more videos like this. So, get a drink and enjoy the video. Oh, and before I forget, notice how chubby I was at the beginning of the video and watch me lose 60 pounds as the video goes on. All right, everyone, cheers. After years of searching for properties, I settled for these 10 acres that came with an old cabin that needed a lot of work. There's a river that runs year-round right next to the cabin. And let me tell you, that river is a magnet for deer. It's pretty nice being able to fish and hunt only steps away from your front door. When I first jumped into this project, I didn't have any experience with construction. I didn't know how to use the tools. You can see here that I'm hesitating to begin. At this point, the only thing I knew is that all of that rotted wood siding had to be removed. This old cabin was built in the late 1800s and it was abandoned for decades. And it became nothing more than the party house of all the forest animals and insects. So you must be asking yourself, how did I manage to get the money for all of this? Well, the answer is simple. I worked very hard, not only to put myself through school, but I wanted to save enough money for this project as well. I don't have rich parents. It's quite the opposite. I worked 3 jobs for a very long time, whatever jobs I could get. Jobs that, quite honestly, I hated. But I had a goal in mind, to save enough money to buy a property to make it my bug out location. A place where my family and I could weather the storm, so to speak. With all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now, it's a great idea to have a place to escape to in case of a man-made or natural emergency. A place way out in the middle of the wilderness, far away from the dangers of high populated areas. It was a lot of work, and at times, it felt that I had no idea what I was doing. But once you begin, you start to figure it out. At this point, you start to see me getting a little bit more comfortable with the tools. If you would have showed me this video only a year ago, I would have been like, there's no way that's me. If I have to pick one thing that I wish that people take from this video is this. Don't ever let anyone convince you, including yourself, that you can't do something. Oftentimes, we underestimate our abilities to adapt and to learn new things. We have been programmed since early age to follow the line, but our nature is to be free and to live a fulfilling life. Our founding fathers called it the pursuit of happiness. Now, I don't know what that means for you, but for me, it means having control over the basic things that I need to survive: water, food, and shelter. There's a peace of mind that you get from knowing that no matter what happens in this world, you can always provide those 3 things, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well. As exhausting as it is, I really enjoy working these kind of projects. I don't know if it's because I enjoy to create order out of chaos, or it's because I rather work in nature, even if it's in bad weather, than working another boring day at the office. When it comes to a break room, I don't think it can get much better than this. I finally got myself a proper ride-on lawnmower, and I gotta tell ya, I really don't miss at all the cheap mower I had before. I could cut grass all day with this thing, no problem. better hurry and finish the cabin before the winter comes. The winters here in the New England region of the United States are pretty tough, and once it begins to snow, I won't have the time to work on this kind of projects, since in the winter you have a new set of jobs to focus on, such as cleaning the snow, splitting wood, and believe it or not, making sure that the cabin stays warm. It's a full-time job in and of itself. I know what some of you might be thinking. That's an odd hobby to have, especially for a young person, being a prepper. But I don't see it as a hobby. I see it as having insurance for my water, food, and shelter. There's a lot of people that have car, home, or life insurance. There's even people that have insurance for their jewelry. And we don't look down on them just because they want to make sure that they are covered if something bad does happen. Now, I know that tragedies that require you to run for the hills, so to speak, are very rare, but they do happen. History is full of such events, and no one can say with certainty that an event of such magnitude will not happen in our lifetime. At this point, you start to notice my weight loss. I lost nearly 60 pounds in 1 year, not only because I was doing a lot of physical work, but also because during that year, I was living off my preps and I was eating just the right amounts, since I wanted to have a real-world experience in how well prepared I need to be to survive at the cabin for a prolonged period of time. During that year, I learned to identify wild edibles, I learned to hunt, to fish, to trap, and to forage. And I made some really good friends with like-minded individuals in this area, because the fact is, if something big happens and you need to run for the hills, you can't make it alone. People need to minimize their dependency on the system and have a backup plan if the world goes wild. Yes, the world elites and governments have a backup plan, but for them, not for us. If I never use this property for a bug out and emergency situation, well, I'll have an incredible recreational property at the very least, which means that it's a win-win situation. But by the looks of things, a collapse of society is more likely than not at one point in my lifetime. I'm a millennial, which means that I still have a long way to go, and it looks like it's going to be a bumpy ride, to say the least. When it comes to prepping, there's no such a thing as the ultimate prepper. We should always be learning new things, and I don't care what is your prepper level. You could be the most experienced prepper, but there's always room for improvement. And I strongly believe that preppers should always strive in becoming a jack of all trades, because you never know what life is going to throw at you. I wasn't really concerned about losing that much weight because I was overweight to begin with, but one of the biggest takeaways from this experience is the fact that you need to add at least 30% more of food and supplies on top of whatever supplies and food you have gathered for whatever time length you're preparing for. Because the fact is, you're gonna be eating out of anxiety, stress, and sometimes because you're bored. You're gonna be eating a lot more, and you're gonna need the extra calories, especially if you're gonna be doing a lot of physical labor like I was. Some preppers talk about bugging out like if it's a walk in a park, but I'm here to tell you, it's not. You need to be physically, and most importantly, you need to be psychologically prepared for something like this. Most preppers here on YouTube are more concerned about selling you something than practicing what they preach. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. The snow has finally arrived, and I'm so glad that the cabin is officially done. I'll be doing a Q&A, so leave your questions in the comments and I'll answer them on the next video. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos.